Hello and welcome to First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me for this momentous episode 250 from West Coast Best
Hey,
Coast is Emma. How are you doing?
hey, doing good. Cannot complain. How about you?
I'm doing well. We were talking a little bit pre-show. I've been very good busy of
Yep.
lots of fun, a lot of social things. Shout out to Shanine in chat coming to hang out. Um,
Hey, Shanine.
yeah, but so yeah, been busy with holidays and stuff, but very good busy. Like friends visiting, going out for my birthday with people, other birthdays because everyone is a late November, early December birthday apparently,
Yep.
and so, but all good things, but definitely busy, and so this week, we are taking a look back. We love to do this at the end of every year. This time, I think for the first time in podcast history, it lined up with an episode 50.
Yeah.
And so we are taking a look back at 2023 for our favorite things. Really excited. Like I said, this is one of my favorite chats that we get to do every year as we kind of like sum up like what we've been up to. And so
Yeah.
before we get into it, and we'll lay some background as well. Before we get into all of that, we are First Geek 411. You can find us all over social media. Join our Discord server. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411 at gmail.com. Watch live on Twitch Monday nights around 6:45 Mountain Time, and find the videos over on YouTube. Then you can also check out our Red Bubble store. So as always with First Geek stuff, the first rule is that there are no rules. Um,
As always.
yeah, as always. And so, being also that we are First Geek, there is a tendency for these things that we are excited about from the past year to be geeky, but not a requirement. Um,
Exactly.
and then it can really be whatever you want them to be. So if you're here in chat, if you're watching later on YouTube, let us know what it is that you are excited about from this past year. It also doesn't have to be something that was new this past year. It could be something that was new to you. It could be something that, like, hey, every year I go and do this thing. Just because I'm going to pick on a friend who just went to PAX Unplugged. It's like, hey, I go to conventions. This year's PAX Unplugged was a lot of fun. It can be something like that. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Um, and yeah, so there's really no rules. Um, I do want to give a shout out to Mayfly, who posted some of their top things in the Discord, and so we'll share that before we get into ours. Mayfly says, "High points from me have been the recent acquisition of a job. Congratulations!
Nice.
Took over a month of interviews to get." And
Woohoo.
then my favorite vampire, Baby Boy, Neil Newborn, for winning Best VA. And then Baldur's Gate 3 getting Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
All good things.
And so,
That's gone
so
on my Christmas list. Is
yes,
Baldur's Gate 3.
yeah, same for me. Um, and also, another caveat: there's almost always sub points to these things that we're excited
Always.
about. I say as
Always.
like four of mine have sub points, and
Yep.
so Um, and then Shanine couldn't be with us on camera, but she did provide her top five for the year as well. And so we will share those as we go and as
Yeah,
we
we
rotate
will.
through. Um, and so, I guess with all of that, I'm sure more things will come up. But let's dive into our top five mostly geeky things from 2023. Emma, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. I'm flipping around the order of my first two
How
because I
dare
feel
you?
like I know. How dare I be so excited that my nephew was born in February? So, my nephew was born in February, and that's like the number one top tier thing to have happened this year. Um, First niece, nephew, sibling child in the family. So, it was very exciting, and I love him so much, and he's gotten so big, and he's started crawling, and I'm so happy to be an aunt. But that's been like the one like big or the like one of the biggest things of this year that's been like so exciting. and just so fun is having a nephew. Yay. Cute little
Yeah,
baby.
that's awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Um, Yoshi, thank you for that follow. And dropping your
Yay.
top 5 in chat. We'll hit it after. I'll share yours, Yoshi, once we get through our first round. Hope you're doing great and having an awesome Monday. Okay, so Shanine and I had a couple overlap, so I'm gonna knock those out
Yep.
first, and then we'll get into like where we kind of differ. And so, um, Shanine had on her list The Last of Us (parenthesis honorable mention) the One Piece live action, and then I also put Tlu on mine. Um, and honestly, Emma, if we want to segue this into and just talk about yours here as well, because plot twist, this is on Emma's list as well.
Yep. But mine has a minor addition to it.
Yes, yours has. So you can talk about that once we get back around to you. Um, but for me, I've The Last of Us is my favorite modern game series. I count The Last of Us Part 2 as my favorite video game of all time. I was extremely scared going into the show because I wanted to believe, and everything that they had shared with us, um, um, like looked so good, and I was so scared. And when those like first couple episodes dropped, and it was the like, this is amazing, right? Like it was such a good show, such a good retelling. Um, all the changes that they made versus the game made sense.
Yep.
And I love that they got to bring in some of like the extended lore that like they couldn't find a place for in the game, like Ellie's birth and what happened there. Um, Not trying to go into any specifics to avoid any spoilers and stuff like that, but like them getting to bring in these visions of things that they had, and they just nailed it over and over again, with like every single episode being a banger. um like, oh, the show was just so good in that regard. And
So good.
I just could not believe how much, how there really was not a single major misstep in the whole show. And
It
oh
was
man.
proof that you could do a video game adaptation well.
Yeah. And like it has me a lot more excited for stuff like Fallout, that I'm by no means as big of a fan of as I am for Last of Us, but like it has me so excited for a lot of stuff. And it was just such a good retelling of a story that I love. And it was so fun getting to like talk about it. Now, granted, because of my work, like I get to talk about that at work with people. And like we had meetings where we like part of what we discussed was Last of Us. As people were like watching the episodes every week, or like we would have like a Monday meeting and we would have to clarify who has and has not watched the show yet,
Yep.
so we knew what to talk
Yep.
about.
Yep.
But oh, it was just so good. I'm so excited for part 2 or season 2 to begin filming.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm just, it's so good. I went back and replayed the game. Went back and played Remake, or The Last of Us Part 1, after the show finished. And it was just such a fantastic introduction to so many people to one of the best stories in video games. In chat, Sneaky says, who doesn't have The Last of Us on their list? The people that haven't seen it is all I can say.
The people who do not know what they're missing.
Yeah. And Shanine says, who could have seen that coming?
Dun, dun, dun!
We'll save your addition to this until we get back around to you. But anything that you want to add about the Last of Us show?
I think, I mean, I kind of said it a little bit already earlier, is that it really is proof that you can do a video game adaptation well. And when you do a video game adaptation that follows the storyline of the video game, people actually love it more than if you stray away from the video game storyline. because that's what people want to see. They want to see an adaptation of the story that they fell in love with, not just the characters who are in it. So I will save my additional tag on for when we get to it a little later.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's hit, and I should say for chat, we do have the pinned message. Let us know what are your top things. It doesn't have to be 5, so don't feel like you necessarily have to do 5. But Yoshi OST shared theirs. Number 1, God in their local church. Number 2, learning Korean. Number 3, new friends. Number 4, being part of a video game. Ooh, that's hype.
Ooh.
Number 5, machine learning and AI technologies for making music and podcasts. Ooh, those are all very exciting things. And then,
yeah.
Emma, let's kick it back to you.
Yeah. Okay, my number 2 thing, I'm going kind of in order of most exciting things, but kind of not. Number 2 for me is finishing grad school. Yay!
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. After tomorrow, well, yeah, pretty much after tomorrow, once I get all my stuff done, as in backing stuff up, I will be officially done with grad school, which is so exciting and so thrilling. And it is very nerdy because it is film school, and there is nothing nerdier in my book than film school.
Right.
I would love to get any kind of job on something like The Last of Us or Good Omens or anything else, fantasy, science fiction, whatever. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what things I can snag for jobs, and hopefully something exciting shows up. So, fingers crossed.
Yes, I'm so excited for you. Like, I feel like a lot of, like, we've known each other for a while through Chris.
Yep.
But, like, I feel like you and I have really gotten to know each other really with you in grad school.
Yes.
Like, that's kind of been, like, just timing-wise.
Literally the only context.
Like that's kind of just been, like, it was either you trying to get into grad school, or then it was you, like, getting into grad school and now, like, going through that. And so I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to hear whatever you're allowed to talk about whenever you get something and then are allowed to tell me what it is.
The term NDA will for sure be actually coming up more often.
Yes.
But then
I'm so
I will have trade secrets to share that will not be NDA related. Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
But yeah, I'm so excited for for whatever it is that you come up with, and are able to find. So, again, hopefully The Last of Us or Good Omens, or I would die if you got to be part of The Last of Us season 2.
Yes, so, oh my gosh, I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
Thrilled with that.
I don't think I could handle how excited I would be for you. Of just, like, as somebody who just, like, tangentially I know someone on the show, and, like, how much like so many of, like, specific IPs mean to you. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so hopeful.
It would be thrilling. So, yeah.
Okay, for the next one, this is an overlap between Shanine and I, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. And so, for me, this was, with us moving and getting a house, also shout out, it's not on my list, but, like, getting a house is awesome. We have so much more, like, space and get to decorate and stuff like that. But I felt like that was too broad for me. Just like, but part of that was getting a library card, and of course, trying to take advantage of that, and finding out that we had read V.E. Schwab's book Villainous for our book club. And then I'm going to raise my hands, see if I can find this later, to put in a link to that in the top. And part of that was then finding out that almost all of her other books have audiobooks available through my local library.
Nice.
And so I just started binging through. I finished the Villains series. I did Darker Shade of Magic. I did Gallant. And then I had skipped The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue because I did not think it sounded as interesting from her other books. But Shanine had mentioned something about it, and I was like, you know what? I'll try it. And I posted this when I finished it. I think it is my favorite fictional book that I have ever read.
There
Um,
you go.
I to the point that like a hardcover version of it is on my Christmas list.
Hey.
And like I have never wanted a book that I've finished reading before, but The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is on there. It is such a fantastic book, and I could not have been more like excited about it, like getting through it. And um, it's like my favorite Schwab book. Like I said, it's probably my favorite like work of fiction. Shanine in chat says this fills my heart with so much joy. Because I
As it
remember
should,
Shanine and I talking about it in Discord of being like her being like, I don't know if this one's for you, and then like legitimately getting through it and just like it just meant like like I've also never finished a book and wanted to start it back over, and that's kind of where Invisible Life of Addie LaRue has been for me. Of like I've really been considering checking it out again and re-listening through the book, which
oh,
is not
it's a
something
good
I have
sign.
ever done. And so I cannot recommend this book enough to people. It's the very loose overview that does not go into spoilers is it is a story of a woman who makes a deal with the devil. And then it's her trying to, we'll say, live with the consequences of that deal. And that was kind of the premise, and then it just like spirals out from it so far. And I just loved it so much. And again, I cannot recommend it enough, and I hope that it is something that other people are able to go and find and read because it is fantastic. Uh, Over in chat, we do have Sneaky sharing their top things from the year. Number one, new job. Congratulations. Two, playing so many good games this year. We might talk about that a little bit later. And number three, getting to meet my niece, or their new niece, but he wrote my. But that's awesome. And then Sneaky says Darker Shade of Magic trilogy for life. It's so good. I need to read Fragile Threads of Power. But yeah, with that, go read Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Can't recommend it enough. I never thought I would like have a specific book on my top 5 for the year, and so it's actually one that was not part of book club, and so
Surprise!
yeah, and so let's kick it back up to you, Emma.
Yeah. Okay. I am circling back to The Last of Us. I have said my piece about the show and think it's amazing. But my little tag on is that I got to do The Last of Us maze at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, and it was like one of the best moments of my entire life. Because I also love the games and the show, and the fact that they had a Last of Us maze, let alone the fact that I got to do it, was like so awesome. And they did such a good job. And it was like, I would have done it over and over and over again. I would have gone back just to do it again had I been able to afford it. But so that was a very exciting moment in my year of like getting to do this maze.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Based on and focused on The Last of Us. And I hope they really do more and lean more into like video games in the future, like and like pull from more things like that for inspiration. because
Mhm.
they really did do such a great job on it, and it was I was laughing the entire time just from how great it was. So that was a big highlight of my year was getting to do the Last of Us days at Halloween Horror Nights. So yeah.
Um, Speaking of things having caveats and additions, I keep on thinking of more things to add. And so we're going to have things flushed out. So, um, next up for Shanine, she put Hogwarts Legacy. She says, my most time spent with a game this year and the only one I've come close to completing. She said, completed the story, haven't fully completed the game yet. Um, Great game. I really enjoyed getting to play it as well. Um, Kind of segueing this into my next point, which is there are so many great games this year. Um, and I feel like Hogwarts Legacy was like such a like on a different year would have been like tops of so many different things.
Mhm.
And yeah, Yoshi in chat says I can't believe Tears of the Kingdom came out this year, right?
Oh, I know.
Like that came out in February. Hogwarts Legacy was in January, and then there's just been so many banger after banger this year. Um,
So many.
so for me specifically, I want to call out first. My goal for this year was to play at least 40 different games. I've been tracking them over on GG app, and I have officially crossed 40. And
Hey.
so that's very exciting. So the goal is not to finish 40 games, but just to try different games. And with that, I'm giving
Yep.
myself permission to like bounce from games much quicker without feeling like I need to finish them. Um, and so then for me, I'll be doing a full ranking of all the games that I've played this year over on Cameron plus Deanna in a coming week. But for me specifically, I want to shout out Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. Those were both my most anticipated games of this year, and I loved both of them so much. Um, Final Fantasy 16 is so Final Fantasy in all the ways that I wanted. It's so over the top. It's so like in your face with the lore, and I loved the darker tone. All the jokes about it being Final Fantasy cross Game of Thrones was like a selling point to me, and I love that about it. I don't want every Final Fantasy to be that way, but like after the past couple games have been kind of lighthearted,
Mhm.
um, and like they might have had deep moments, but like relatively lighthearted. Um, and I feel like this having this one that is much less apologetic. It's just much more gritty. I really enjoyed it. I loved their take on the icons and of getting to have all of the different characters. Um, a shout out to like Clive and Jill, especially. Joshua grew on me from this punk baby brother into like such a good character. And then Spider-Man 2, like, um, like again, I feel like that was the game that like it just had to be Spider-Man. And they did
Just
such a
had to
good
be.
job with the story. I loved having both Miles and Peter as playable characters. They again kind of like excel at the details of it to the point where like they have to record multiple lines with each Spider-Man because they don't know who you're going to tackle objectives with and things like that. Kind of like how in the previous one, and I believe in this one as well, there is a web swinging version of the audio and then a non web swinging version of the audio to kind of reflect like how tired the character is. And so that's really cool. And it was such a good story. Um, and Sneaky in chat says Spider-Man 2 just crushed it. Such a good game. Again, in a different year would have won awards. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's. I'm not shocked that it did not win anything at the Game Awards just because of how loaded this year
Yeah.
was.
This year
But
really was
like,
loaded.
I really hope that it continues to get love both from fans, but then from other outlets and things like that, or it'll
Mhm.
get some good recognition because it was such a fantastic game. Um, and I feel like it did such a good job at being what it pitched itself as. Like I feel like there's like
Yep.
that's such an important thing of its what is this? This is a Spider-Man story of two Spider-Man, and they nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
This continues to be my favorite version of Peter Parker ever, and so, yeah, love it. I could and will be talking about this a lot more, and so, but yeah. With that, Emma, we'll kick it back up to you, so that way
Yeah.
I don't just gush about this the whole time.
I mean, we could all gush about our favorite things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, I'm bringing up Doctor Who because that's something that I gush about. 60th anniversary, we just got our third and final episode for that celebration. But the super exciting thing for me about Doctor Who is the return of Russell T Davies um, at the helm as showrunner, because I really was not a fan of the last guy. I've said this before, I'll say it again. And he's the one that really brought Russell T Davies is the one who brought the show back, um, way back in 2005, basically. And he has returned, and I have so much faith in him to um, just like bring back the heart of the show, as what the thing is that I fell in love with. So it's very exciting. And then we also got to see the return of David Tennant in the role
Mm-hmm.
of the Doctor for these 3 episodes. Um, I'm not going to say much because spoilers, but some exciting things happened. Some big swings were taken by Russell T Davies. I am mildly annoyed by some of them, but I'm not super annoyed or super mad about them because they were done within the context of the show and very thoughtfully
Mm-hmm.
so. So like while they make me mildly uncomfy, I'm like, I can't be too mad about those big swings that you took because it was very clear you were thoughtful about the way in which you took them and how they fit into the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot be mad about them, unlike with the last showrunner who took big swings and just did not take them within the context of the show. So yeah, very exciting. Big things happened. I am interested to see where they go. It was such a delight to see David Tennant back as the Doctor. Still very similar to the 10th Doctor that we all know and love, but also different, like, in his own different way, which was great. So that's been a big highlight for me, has been to see someone bringing the love back into my favorite show. So, yeah.
I've only seen part one of the special. I need to watch the other ones, and so, I'm very excited, to kind of get to see more about it. We fell off during Capaldi,
Yep.
and then, just really didn't. Not to say we didn't have a way to watch, we did, because it was on Max, but like didn't really keep up with it. Didn't really have a desire, especially because people weren't like chomping at the bit about how well the Jodie Whittaker seasons went. But
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
yeah.
I love Jodie
Yeah,
Whittaker, and she did such a good job for what she was given. So, like,
yeah.
I just wish that the people in power had done a better
Mhm.
job of writing the seasons that she was on. So,
And good thing about Doctor Who is that there's always a way for her to come back.
boys, which
And
is
so,
like the
conveniently, when your
best.
show is about time travel,
Yeah.
they've shown before that they're more than willing. Like, not even meaning like the current stuff, but like they're so shown with like random episodes and stuff like that they're more than willing to bring in random members of the cast. And so,
Yeah. From, even, older companions who were in the classic Who eras. So, it's always a possibility for that redemption to be
mhm.
provided. And I hope it is at some point because her Doctor is one of my favorites outside of the context of the storyline.
uh, for Shanine, the next one that she has is The Ocean at the End of the Lane, live stage show at Oxford Oxford. Um, Shout out. She had posted some awesome pictures, talked about the time that she got to go and check it out. It's not a show that I know a lot about other than it's based on the book from Neil Gaiman. And so I don't know a lot of the story other than that. It's one that I like re-seeing it here. I need to go check the library and see if they have it
Yep.
because I'd be interested to check it out, especially if I can do the audiobook for it.
For Shanine,
Um,
because I know you're listening. I did one of the scenes for my directing class from the play. Um, so because and it made me think of you. So yeah, I would love to see it eventually.
Someday we should just take a
Someday.
podcast trip to Oxford.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my little addition is that I did a scene from it for my directing class, which I'm sure I've mentioned before. But yeah.
The next one for me, I guess my number 4, is getting to go to Taylor Swift's Eras tour. And so I mentioned before buying a house. This is also like all tied in with that as well because we saw the Eras tour on Sunday and then bought our house on Monday, like like after
Nice.
seeing the concert. And like I'm not a huge like concert person. I don't listen to a ton of music. Um, but getting to go and see this show live and all like 3 hours of its glory, kind of as like the starting point for the year that was also Shanine and I doing our ranking of every single song. I'm going to raise my hands here again so I can hopefully find this later and put a link in. And then like coming back to it to add 1989, Taylor's version, which is my favorite album of hers. And then the movie like of it coming to theaters and going and like rewatching it and partying with all the people in the theater. Like it was such a good year. In the getting to go see the concert like with friends, like we had just had a group that all went together, and so that was a ton of fun getting to experience that with friends on top of it just being like such an amazing concert. um and yeah, there was just so much going on. um and yeah, it's the type of performance that was like it was so masterful, and it also just kept going.
Yep.
Like I cannot believe that it's 3 hours of like solid performance. Like it's such a wonderful show that um, I'm excited that again there's recordings of it that are available for people that want to see it that couldn't go, and I'm excited for the rest of the world as more dates continue to be added for it.
Yep.
And so I'm just like very excited for what all that could be going forward. Um, in chat, Just Gary shares his top 5 things. So spending the first Thanksgiving with my mom in many years. Congratulations. Going to your first 2 NASCAR races. Number 3, getting to drive a NASCAR car.
Nice.
Number 4, the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. I just started that, and Litwick is like one of the first Pokemon that you can catch, and I'm just like, let's go. My favorite, like one of my favorite Pokemon is right here at the beginning. Don't even have to look for it.
Yes.
All aboard the hype train. And then number 5, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And yeah, so that was our number 4s. Before we get into our final pick, we're not necessarily ranking, but before we get into our final one, any honorable mentions that you want to bring up?
Yes. Doctor Who MTG cards. Magic the Gathering, because I've just started playing Magic the Gathering, and the fact that they were released this year. Uh, Great to have a touch point as a big Doctor Who fan of like something that I know and understand to help me get into Magic the Gathering and playing. So it's been very exciting to look through the cards and haven't gotten a chance yet to play with them, but um eventually I will, and it will be very fun when I do.
Yeah, I say this every time. We'll get a time where we can play some, and it might have to be at post holidays at this point, but like,
Yep.
we'll figure something out. And so I'm so excited for you with that.
Yeah. It'll be very fun.
Yeah. I have two honorable mentions. First one is movie wise, Across the Spider-Verse as well as Barbenheimer.
Yep.
All three fantastic films. I still can't believe that Barbenheimer, like that both
Happened.
of those movies dropped in the exact same like weekend, and like they are both such great films. As I'm rocking my Spider-Man hat,
Yeah.
and like Into the Spider-Verse is such a good film. Getting to see Across the Spider-Verse again, such fantastic animation. The fact like that they would like change art styles for like one scene is like so cool. And then it's like this like for whatever the scene needs, that's the art style that we have. Love that stuff. Such great filmmaking. And then tying in with that, getting to go to Disneyland for our anniversary. Deanna and I went to Disneyland for our honeymoon, or as part of our honeymoon. And then so this year we went back. And the big new thing was Avengers Campus. And so...
Oh, you guys hadn't been yet?
They built it after we had gone. So like the Guardians ride was there, but like Avengers Campus as a whole wasn't. And so same with like Galaxy's Edge, of like that Galaxy's Edge wasn't there when we went, but we had been to the one in Florida. And so getting to go and actually getting to go to the Marvel stuff where like kind of getting to experience Avengers Campus, getting to, especially like the difference in Disneyland versus Disney World, where the characters just walk around so much more. But just like walking around and getting to see people in costume for some of my favorite characters. Spider-Man ride, that is a workout.
It really is. Oh my gosh.
And then, just kind of getting to experience like the Halloween parties and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so loved that so much. But yeah, with that, let's get into our final picks for our mostly geeky top 5 from 2023.
Yeah. My last one, top pick or whatever pick, is Jedi Survivor coming out. Because Star Wars and Jedis and getting to be a Jedi and being Cal Kestis is a lot of fun. And it was just a lot. That's one of my not honorable mentions, but my game mention of the year as one that I have played. Because had I played Baldur's Gate 3, it would be Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel with it too.
But I also did really enjoy. Oh,
hello, cat.
Distracted by the cat, who I did not realize had gotten up on the beanbag. Yeah, Jedi Survivor was just a lot of fun and delightful. Cameron, I know you haven't finished it yet.
I have.
I don't think you have finished it. Okay, you have finished it. Yeah. At some point in my head, I knew you hadn't finished it.
It took me a while to get there, just because I watched Deanna play it, so like I knew all the story beats, and then because I knew the story, I was like procrastinating it to play other games. And so it just took me quite a while to actually beat it, but we did get there.
Yep. Good. But I had a lot of fun with it, and just one of the games that sticks out to me from this past year of when I really enjoyed playing. So, yeah.
Then the final thing for Shanine. Sorry. In chat, Sneaky says BD1 Stan. Let's go, best droid.
Yes.
And they look to be like testing out some new droids at like Galaxy's Edge that look kind of like inspired by BD1's design.
Yes.
And they're so adorable. But yeah, so last one for Shanine was the Barbie movie. And such an awesome film. I liked the memes after it came out of like, this is not the Barbie movie we deserved, but it's the Barbie movie that we needed. Of like, I don't think anyone was gonna like necessarily foresee it being what it was. And it's such a good like commentary that's not just let's market the toys. And so
Yep.
So I think that was amazing. I know like another thing that I heard is this idea of like, it's a Barbie movie for adults who grew up with it, not a Barbie movie that's trying to make you a fan. And I loved it. It was such a good film. And yeah, it's one of those movies that I could see being the movie that people talk about from this year.
Yep. Yep.
And I hope studios don't learn the wrong lesson from it / Barbenheimer. So
I hope not.
Then for me, my final pick for the year, sub points, but it's tabletop gaming. And so Emma already referenced the Doctor Who Commander decks, but as a whole, the Universes Beyond that we had this year, this kind of ties in with what I was saying about The Last of Us being such a great entry point and being such a great way to show people what the story is and bring people in. I loved that both Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who, for what they did for both bringing people into magic, but also showing how cool their IPs are.
Yep.
Obviously with you, like we have the Doctor Who side, but like I have other friends that like knew I played Magic. And so when they found out that Doctor Who or that Lord of the Rings was happening, they reached out to me and were like, hey, I want to learn how to play Magic. Is this going to be a good way to get in? And getting to meet with them and kind of experience some of their like learning to play Magic journey as they got ready for Lord of the Rings and stuff like that has definitely been fantastic. And I continue to say that like I think the Universes Beyond are a fantastic thing for getting people interested and excited about the game.
Yep.
And then next up, we'll keep it in the world of trading card games for Lorcana. Disney's trading card game. Deanna and I just like cracked open some new cards on stream this past Friday. And it seems like we're finally getting to the point with Lorcana where it's like easy to find. Because it really feels like so much of the conversation around the game has not been about playing the game, but it's been about finding it. And so I'm very excited to start going and playing in events and like weekly like local tournaments and stuff like that. And kind of getting to engage with some of the community for what this looks like. And yeah, I'm just so excited for it. I love Disney as a whole. And so I'm loving their different takes on cards and things like that. And so I'm excited for it to get out there for more people. Then next we have Frosthaven, the standalone follow-up to Gloomhaven. And so this is another one that we got this like right before we moved and like couldn't unbox the 40-pound behemoth that is this game. And so since then, we've gotten to play some, not as much as I wanted to, but we've gotten through 5 scenarios and have a lot more to go through its like scattered web of like 100 and something different battles and things like that.
So many to go through.
Yeah. And it's such a fun game. I'm so excited about what it could be or about what it will be, and unlocking the new characters of like those kinds of things. And then last thing in the world of tabletop is both of us getting to play Pathfinder over on City on a Hill.
Yes.
Specifically play Pathfinder 2E, and then getting to experience that with some great friends and have a fun time playing that. I'm excited for this upcoming year. We're going to hopefully have more and more time to play.
Yep.
And yeah, I just have really been enjoying getting to play my hyena dad as we try to keep Emma's crazy frog person remotely on track. And so and it's been so much fun. I'm loving Pathfinder as a TTRPG system, and then and getting to like finally experience something that I've spent a lot of time listening to podcasts for has been great.
Yeah.
Then finally shout out to my 2 D&D groups also.
Yeah.
So shout out to both of them that I'm DMing. So
I just haven't seen a lot of the world, Cameron.
You know,
Come on.
sometimes you're just a frog that's like hanging out.
You're just a frog who has never left the rainforest.
You know, sometimes you're just living your best frog life, and that involves like hiding people's shoes from them after they've been attacked by bandits. So that
and throwing their books out the window to see what it does.
You never know. Gravity could be different in this area.
Yeah.
There is magic. So
does gravity work the same everywhere? We don't know.
There's only one way to find out. And so if you don't throw things out the window, you'll never know.
How will you ever know that it does not work the same?
Yeah. That's just the scientific theory.
Yeah.
And so you're really doing great work there.
Trial and error. It's a process.
Exactly. And so with all of those, obviously there's been a whole lot of other stuff that has gone on this year. These are kind of our favorites. There's definitely been great things, not as great things, all of that kind of stuff that's happened this year. But I do love this time in this episode as a way for us to like look back and chat through those highlights. Before we go into our outro and post-show chat, any final thoughts, Emma, on 2023 and any of the top 5 things or honorable mentions?
I mean, there's so many things to honorably mention, but like, I just can't wait to see what grad school life brings. That is the next thing on my brain, really.
Yeah.
Because I've been in school for so long now that I'm like, ooh, what's next? But it will be exciting to jump in and share it all with you guys.
Yep. I'm excited.
Or at least what I can.
Yeah.
Share what I can of it.
You know.
Without getting myself fired from
please do not
whatever
get
job.
Fired. Internet points are not worth it.
No.
But well, with that, listeners, watchers, let us know what are your top 5 things, and we can do that over in our Discord, over in the comment section of the YouTube video, or by finding us as OneGeek411 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also shoot us an email at 1st@geek411@gmail.com. Check out that Redbubble store, watch live on Twitch, and find the videos on YouTube. And you can also find us at our personal social media. Mine is Humar Whittill.
Mine is I am not prepared with an I in the prepared.
And then I do want to do a slight administrative announcement here. With holidays, it is unclear what we're going to be doing. This might be our last episode of the year. Probably will be. But we may have some stuff in the coming weeks. So keep an eye on that social media as we try to see what we're going to do.
I may or may not, if I feel so inspired, stream a little bit of Christmas baking.
Ooh, that's fun. And
so yeah.
So stay tuned, keep an eye out, but potentially the last episode of the year. We wanted to go ahead and do this just in case. We usually do this much later in December, but wanted to make sure that we had time to get it in just in case. And so with that, it has been a great week.
Drink some water.
Go play a game.